All right, so good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in. I'm David Salomon. I'm the Director of Research and Creative Activity at Christopher Newport University in Virginia, and I'm also the current chair of the Undergraduate Research Programs Division of CUR. I want to welcome you to our first Undergraduate Research Programs Exchange. These 50-minute Zoom sessions are going to be monthly facilitated exchanges of ideas and information on a variety of topics and issues that relate to undergraduate research programs. The sessions are going to be recorded and made available in the CUR community after we are finished. These are not designed to be formal presentations, but instead are going to begin with very brief introductions by facilitators and then open up for discussion. Please use the chat to post questions or comments, and I'll do my best to keep up with them and read them aloud for response. Today's session addresses how to establish an undergraduate research advisory committee or board on your campus. And I'm very happy to share this opening session with two wonderful CUR colleagues. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves now, after which we'll begin with a short introduction of our topic and get into it. So, Anne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Ann Boettcher. I'm the Assistant Dean of Research at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I'm very excited to share today.
Sure. And I am Donna Chamely-Wiik. I am the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Research and Prestigious Fellowships at Florida Atlantic University. And I'm also equally happy to share what we're doing.
And I think Anne is going to start us off by talking about the value of having an advisory board.
Right. So as you'll hear as we progress, sometimes advisory boards start organically as you're starting an office or expanding an office, and other times there are directives from above. But in general, there are some internal and external reasons that you might consider having one. I think the key one for internal is making sure you have the breadth of disciplines represented. The institute I was at before, University of South Alabama, when we started, we were heavily STEM. And until we brought in representation on our advisory board, like music and business, we didn't have representation from students or mentors. So really you get your buy-in both from the different disciplines, but also often in terms of support for the program. It is also incredibly valuable to have one for messaging to make sure that you're reaching all the different programs on campus and that you're getting their input. In terms of external, it is great on these boards to have industry and hiring perspective. So why are you doing the things you're doing in order to help make students more hireable or get to graduate school easier? Thinking about what experience and expectations should be, and also in terms of having additional bodies, which sort of gives you more time for things. And so I think thinking about both aspects can help you move forward with these. I'm going to transition to David now.
So I am at Christopher Newport University. We are a medium-sized undergraduate, primarily undergraduate institution. We have a few master's programs in Newport News, Virginia. We've got about 5,000 students on campus. And when I came 7 years ago to open the office, there was a committee that was already in place. But as Anne mentioned about where she had been previously, it was heavily STEM. And really, that was about the only thing that was happening. And so I really wanted to expand that. Todd, can you go to the next slide, please? So this is the language actually from our handbook. Our Undergraduate Research Council, the URC, is actually a faculty governance committee. So it is an elected committee, elected faculty, and it really does advise my office on operations and initiatives. Its charge essentially is to integrate best practices in research and creative activity at the institution. It's made up of 12 members. faculty from a variety of different areas across the institution. The director of the library is an ex officio member. I'm an ex officio member, and we do also have a student representative who also is ex officio. The committee is interesting. One of the challenges with it is that it is an elected committee. And so I don't often get, or not often, I sometimes do not get, how's that for good English? I sometimes do not get folks on that committee who are necessarily passionate about research and creative activity at the undergraduate level. I get, excuse me, a lot of junior faculty who are looking for something for service that they can put on their annual review. So that has been certainly a challenge. It has improved over the 7 years that I've been here, but it still is an ongoing challenge. Next slide, please. So what do they really do? As I say, they are a faculty governance committee. We do have monthly meetings, so we meet once a month. Their primary role is to vet applications for my programs. So they read all the applications for my Summer Scholars Program. They read all the applications that are submitted for our journal. They read all the applications for my grant programs. And I divvy those up. I assign them. They're blind reviewed and read by two faculty from the college that it's being submitted in. They also approve new programs and initiatives. So as I've cooked up things over the years, I bring them to them, and pretty much they nod and say, "Yeah, that looks good." They haven't really been coming up with anything new. I've been bringing everything to them. They advise me as director of the office. And most importantly, I think they support the mission and values of my office and really liaise with the colleges and the departments. So a lot of the time I'll have a faculty member on that committee and I'll sort of point out that we're having an issue with your department. Would you talk to them, please, at your next department meeting? I would like them to serve as a campus think tank on undergraduate research and creative activity. We're not there yet. Maybe someday. I'm going to pass it off to Anne here to talk about Embry-Riddle.
And we can go ahead and move to the next slide. So our advisory board grew more organically. I came from an institution where we had one. I got here. I was told we don't do summer undergraduate research programming. I thought that was silly because I had students who wanted to do it. So I formed the committee to help build the support for a summer program. And we've continued with that process. So we have representation from all of our colleges, trying to cover the different disciplines and each of the sub areas within them, and a research librarian. And that was really where we started. We built our summer program. They began to help with reviewing the applications. And then I had a student who had been doing research with me with the program for 4 years. And he came in his last term and he said, "Why don't you have alum on the board?" And I was like, "Well, because I didn't think about it." And he said, "Well, I think you should, and I should be your first representative, and you should have somebody from each college." And so we added that aspect, and it has been incredibly valuable because we have representation that includes students who are in grad school, as well as ones who've gone to industry. They bring support to some of our research teams, but they provide the perspective of what students really need as they're exiting. Primarily, our alum are recent grads. Unlike our other advisory boards, we don't have a financial requirement to join the URI advisory board, so it's easier for recent grads. And we talk to students as they're exiting, but also faculty bring forward students who might be good representatives, and students as they rotate off also make suggestions. 2 years ago, we added community members. Again, this was serendipitous, but has turned out to be incredibly valuable. We had 2 members of the community who were interested in undergraduate research said, what can we do to help the program? I asked them to join. They have ties to industry that is linked to our programming, but they also have personal connections to the Institute. And so our community members are retired. And so they actually are able to contribute and help fill some of the gaps that we can't fill with the small staff we have. The newest member does a lot of copy edit, so she's going to be our proofer for all our documents moving forward. If you can move to the next slide. We have very similar functions to what David has. Although the university sets our budget, we have donor accounts and industry partnerships. So the advisory board helps parse out where the budget should go and help a good deal with our professional development and our programming. Their heavy responsibility, like David's, is the proposal review with 2 academic year and 1 summer cycle. And then they actually help with some of the specific programming. Recruitment of students and mentors is a big one, but they also help with workshops, and they advocate with our campus leadership. What has been particularly valuable in that aspect is the advocacy from our alum. When we face any sort of constraints, our alum members often are able to speak up and get movement where we can't internally. And I will turn it over to Donna.
I just want to jump in and just remind you, if you have questions or comments, put them in the chat and we will try to get to everybody.
Awesome. Okay, so Florida Atlantic University, not so sunny today, but South Florida. We are doctoral granting institution. We are currently R2, but in 2025, we will be slated to be an R1 institution. We have about 25,000 plus undergraduate students that we serve, and FAU is a Hispanic serving institution. So our undergraduate research office that I am the founding director of got established out of our quality enhancement plan, which is a SACS accreditation initiative. During the time of development of the QEP, I was a chemist, which I still am, and Julie can tell me, attest to that. But as a chemist, it was very important to bring in what David and Anne have talked about earlier, a breadth of knowledge about the research enterprise outside of my very limited knowledge at the time of what research is and what research stood for within the university. So the committee of faculty that helped us get SACS accreditation converted into what we know today to be the Faculty Liaison Committee. Next slide. So we actually now have 2 committees, and it has evolved over the years. So I'll present it what it actually looks like now, and we'll talk about the function and the overlap between the 2 separate committees. So our Faculty Liaison Committee consists of representation from all academic colleges, including the College of Medicine. It includes representation now from our FAU High School, which is a really unique dual-enrolled, research-rich high school to the institution. Since FAU is on multiple campuses, we try to work on faculty representation that also reflect faculty in the varying campuses. And I, as well as the Dean of Undergraduate Studies, serves as the as non-voting representatives. Since undergraduate research falls under undergraduate studies, it's very academically focused. We haven't trajected to what Anne has done with the community space. On the side of the students, we have a parallel committee, which is our student peer mentor program. And those student peer mentors are paired with the faculty liaisons. And so the students don't have a seat on the committee, but they work in tandem with the liaisons to kind of build a culture, continue building the culture of research and inquiry within the colleges. For the purposes of effort, we many years ago decided that compensation would be a great way to solve some of the problems that David is experiencing. We wanted faculty that we would have a say over who served on the committee, who had a passion for undergraduate research, who wanted to champion expanding a culture of undergraduate research. In addition, it allowed us to add more job responsibilities to the position. So our positions are directly conversational between us and the deans of the colleges to say, listen, our liaison is leaving, we're looking for a new liaison. Here's a couple people that have expressed interest. Let's have a conversation and let's talk about who you think as the dean would be the best representative of that culture at your institution. They serve 2 years and they can be recurring. And I would say 65 to 70% of our faculty liaisons have been with me since my QEP days. And it's really wonderful for them to demonstrate and continue demonstrating. The stipends have gone down over the years. We had much higher stipends when we were under the QEP than we do now. In terms of function of this one committee, they serve as the point of contact for expanding the culture. We talked about the mission of the undergraduate research within the college that they serve. And that includes working with new faculty, working with the student peer mentor, communicating opportunities, co-presenting at faculty assembly meetings or department chair meetings, and supporting OURI in a variety of ways, similar to what Anne and David have mentioned. But in addition, how we design the monthly committee meetings is sort of two primary goals. At the beginning of the year, we establish cross-college collaborative goals. We usually pick 3. And then additionally, the faculty liaisons identify 3 college-specific goals. And then we do touch points of where are we at with meeting our college-specific goals. And then within the committee, the big committee, we create subcommittees for the larger cross-college goals. And I'm happy to give examples if anybody wants at a later date. So it's sort of 2 parts. It's David called it a think tank. They really do serve as a think tank by prioritizing 3 things that as a unit we want to move the needle on, and then 3 things as an individual that I would like to move the needle on in my own college. They also do all of the service stuff that David and Anne have already described. They help us brainstorm new programs, and they help us continuously improve existing programs in a beautiful way. And having 10 people think about how the application to their college or what the implications would be is invaluable. And in addition, at the annual level, we leverage these amazing liaisons to have an annual meeting with our provost to keep undergraduate research at the center of the strategic plan, which is part of what our goal is. Sounds good? Okay, next slide. This one's short, I promise. Okay, so I talked about OURI, undergraduate research, OURI being in academic affairs and within undergraduate studies. So a lot of what we do is academic and curriculum based. And so as a result, as an offshoot of the liaison committee, we established an undergraduate research curriculum committee. 6 of the 8 faculty are the same as the liaisons, and 2 of our colleges have selected different URCC committee members. But again, it's a subcommittee of our Senate Steering Undergraduate Programs Committee. So it's a formal committee at the university setting. And anything curriculum that the office involves itself with is voted on, evaluated, and put forward by this one particular committee. And I actually serve as the chair of this committee. They serve 2 years, just like the liaison committee. And in this situation, in addition to consulting with the college deans, we also consult with the undergraduate programs committee chair, because there are faculty representation at that level, and we want to leverage that expertise. For this, because this is a Senate subcommittee, they're not allowed to get compensated for that. And so we do have to separate church from state in regards to this. And then in terms of function, anything curriculum that FAU or URI proposes is approved and vetted by a faculty committee of faculty across the university. So our research intensive course designation, establishment of directed independent research, and our university-wide undergraduate research certificate. Any courses are approved by this committee. Any exceptions are approved by this committee. The 5-year review of the courses are approved. And the students that are applying for exceptions and waivers to our undergraduate research certificate are also approved by this committee. So again, academic and very curriculum based. We're going to stop here because we promised we wouldn't talk for too long. The intent of showing you three different models, one that had a community component with alumni, one that focused on faculty for specific purposes to serve the ORCA office, and one in our case that has two models, is to showcase a breadth of what it looks like in our institutions. But what we'd love to do now is open the floor up to this brain trust for you to share what you're doing at your institution that might be a little bit different than what we're doing, but also to answer any questions that you might have about any of the things that David, Ann, or I have discussed. So for the next, how many ever minutes we have left, and I think we have plenty.
Yeah, about 25
This is
minutes.
just perfect. So 25 minutes. This is just now open forum, open discussion. And we hope
Yeah,
this
so
helps.
if you want to just either put your question in the chat or raise your hand with the magic of Zoom, and I'll call on you. I'm curious though. So Donna, so are you on the faculty liaison community that you have? Who picks those faculty? They apply?
It's informally through the deans, yes. And so it's done differently in the different colleges. Some of the deans do an all call, collect applications, and then consults with us. Some of the deans, Zoom me in and say, okay, let's have a conversation. Here's who I think might be useful. What are your thoughts? And so it's done differently in the different colleges, depending on their practices and policies.
Okay. Okay.
And because it's a paid position, it does help with the recruiting of who we're looking for.
Yeah, the pay certainly would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that you're able to do that.
So far, we're hoping to continue.
We don't have the money to pay, but a couple of our colleges, College of Aviation led the way in this.
Yeah.
They identify new faculty that they think have strong potential to be mentors moving forward. And they actually have them serve early on so they can learn the process pretty quickly. And they get early service because it does count as service. I write the little statements for their tenure and promotion and package, but that helps.
It kind of helps too. Like, so we do this push for new faculty every year that we get new faculty that come on campus. We get a list from the Office of the Provost. We send an email out to all new faculty from me, welcoming them to FAU and letting them know about the Undergraduate Research Initiative. This year, we coincided our summer student showcase with new faculty orientation. So as part of one of their breaks, they came outside to see the best and the brightest of FAU giving research presentations about the research that they did in the summer, which was really, really well received. And then anyway,
I'm sorry. We do the same here. My summer program, they do presentations the morning of the getting started week. So It's right before the faculty all go in for the first provost meeting.
Yeah.
They are able to see the student work from the summer. And just as with you, I mean, I get the list of new faculty and talk to them. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that although my committee is elected because it's faculty governance, I also do sort of surreptitiously, go around campus and I'll sort of put a bug in somebody's ear if they're really passionate about undergraduate research and are doing a lot of work with undergraduates, hey, you might think about serving on the committee. And that has, borne some fruit. We've always got a few people on the committee who clearly don't belong there, but there's not much I can do about that. Questions, comments?
Other
Anyone
models?
want to share their model?
I have a quick question for all maybe I missed this because I joined late, so I apologize. How often does the committee meet at your institutions?
Mine meets monthly.
Same.
Mine is a little bit different because we have the alum and community members. We have to meet virtually because our alum are all over the world, actually. And so we do usually 2 or 3 sets of meetings each term. And we have them, we schedule 2 each time because we can't get everybody in every time zone on. So we do 2 or 3, and we have one just before the academic year starts.
And so Joanne at High Point says her Her challenge is similar to mine. She's got a committee that's assigned by the powers that be. Faculty are required to serve on committees, so it's a service thing. She said they do get to request committees, but her provost insists that the committee is dedicated to undergraduate research, but they tell me that they're too busy to do any significant work. I run into that same problem. At best, they come to monthly meetings. Yes, I hear you. And I'm in office of one, so am I. So she's looking for ways to motivate the committee. And that, yeah, one way that I discovered this year, so we had put into place, and my office was created as a result of a QEP, just as Donna's was. And what was built into the QEP was a plan that we were to develop to compensate faculty for mentoring undergraduates in research. And we developed a really good plan. It worked for a couple of years. And then the provost said, this is way too expensive. We can't continue this. The faculty are still stewing about the discontinuation of that program. But one of the ways that I've engaged the committee is I said, okay, so one of the things that the committee really needs to look at is how are we going to express the value of this work in annual review so that it actually means something when it comes to decisions about raises and merit pay and all the like. And when you do that with faculty, as a faculty member myself, there's nothing that they like to talk more about than how they can get more money and get more recognition. And so they have spent the last 6 months talking about this. We're still not really anywhere yet, but we're getting there slowly.
I have a question. Do you have a university-wide award for undergraduate research?
We don't. That's one of the things that we want to start, because with the discontinuation of our honorarium plan, which was compensating faculty,
Yeah.
we want to do an award for undergraduate research mentoring.
Because that might be incentive, Joanne, for encouraging committee members to serve on the committee. They'll get an insight into a university-wide award, and they could leverage their service on the committee and their engagement with undergraduates to maybe be eligible for a university-wide accolade or award.
Yeah.
And I would just add that I think any committee you serve on, whoever is in charge of the committee has to have asked to write a statement of the participation for the annual activity reports. And then often those lead to letters of support for tenure and promotion. And I will say almost every single faculty member who served on my committee has asked for letters from this office. And in most cases, that's a pretty good trigger for them to have a pretty good investment, because they know they're not going to get a letter that says they did much. They haven't.
Yeah. I've had that same thing happen here. So Laura asks, how do you set meeting agendas? How do you balance input and ideas from committee members with the practical ability of staffing? Anne, you want to answer that?
So I set an agenda about 2 weeks before the meeting, and I asked for input from the advisory board, and they share questions. Sometimes they have shared input between meetings that's added to the agenda. I do have to limit the amount that can be done, because I am also an office of one, and our faculty are very busy and our alum are very busy. And so I have to be really careful, because I have to save the bulk of the time for the reviews. But we pack those hours of the meeting with lots of discussion of things we should be thinking about. I also partner heavily with our Faculty Research and Grants Committee, which is a Senate committee. And so things that go to our advisory board often go to that committee as well to get input. And then I share across those two. So
Anne, is your committee actually doing all the reviews of applications during the meetings?
No.
Oh, I thought you said that.
So
No.
no,
Yeah,
they
that
do.
would be impossible.
One of our meeting each term is about the applications, to discuss them, because people can then share verbal input. But no.
Right.
Oh my goodness, no. They have several weeks to do those.
I'm going to circle back to Joanne. She wants to follow up about Donna's comment about mentor awards.
So I've always been very anxious about a mentor award. I have different schools that tell me that their students do more significant work than anybody else's. In the sciences, the programs are kind of faculty-led. In the social sciences, they're often student-led. In the sciences, there are always a lot of students per faculty. In the humanities and the social sciences and the creative arts, fewer. How do you recruit? How do you judge? Because I just don't see a fair process.
I can share what we do at our institution. So FAU has a university research committee for awards, Researcher of the Year, Scholar of the Year. And we actually got the undergraduate distinguished teacher of the year. I mean, they have this subset of faculty that have been selected for university level awards. We got our distinguished mentor of the year embedded under that grouping, and they've already identified faculty from every college to serve on that subcommittee. And so portfolios go up. The colleges select their one, and the portfolio goes up to the university level for evaluation, which leaves us out of it so that we try to stay neutral. Has it been equitably distributed? I will be honest and I will say no. If I go back for the last 7 years of the undergraduate university researcher of the year, they have been in science engineering honors. We got it once in the College of Business, which was very exciting.
Yeah, we're discussing this at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Because I mean, I understand the issues that Joanne's raising there, and I mean they're valid issues. I know Julie's had her hand up here. Julie,
mine is on a different topic, so if you wanted to finish that, it's okay.
No, go ahead.
I was just curious. So I just started in the new role as Director of Undergraduate Research for my college, and I put together a committee. I just people volunteered, one person from each department, and it's covering both arts and sciences. I'm just curious, as I'm building this program and we're trying to have more formal undergraduate research programs, how do you get the advisory board or your committee involved in terms of like if you're going to apply for a grant or if you're going to assess the program or present at a conference? Are you having your whole committee be involved or just some of them, or how do you do that?
Anybody want to respond? Donna?
So I don't typically involve the committee when I write external grants for the office. I involve targeted faculty that complement the type of external grant that I'm applying for. What was the other example that you gave? Grant writing?
Assessments and presenting at conferences.
Right. So presenting at conferences, we do things a little bit differently. We invite them if they would like to present, that our office would be willing to pay for them to present in tandem with our office as an invitation, because if they don't have travel funds and they want to do something fun, it gives them an opportunity to contribute at that level. But we don't require anything scholarly is actually done internal to the office. It really isn't aligned with the centralized faculty mentor program.
Anne?
I would say ours is parallel. For grants, when we're working on something that's larger than most things are larger than the office, so we're drawing on faculty or appropriate by their discipline.
Yeah.
For going to conferences and presenting at conferences, we're trying a couple of different models. I'll say one that didn't work particularly well was we did send a core to the CUR dialogues that didn't seem to produce the dynamic we wanted. So we have been sending people to NCUR. Sometimes they are on our committee. So one year we chose 2 members of our committee to be the faculty representatives who went, and sometimes they're faculty who are very active. That seems to produce a much greater dynamic with those faculty presenting at that conference and coming back with ideas.
Yeah.
But we do a mix of the mentors who are in our program and the people who are on our committee. Sometimes those are the same. So much more like Donna's.
Yeah, my previous institution, I used to do that for NCUR. We were very small and I wouldn't send many students each year, maybe 3. But the institution didn't want them going on their own. They wanted a faculty member to go with them. And so each year I would sort of assign a faculty member to go on the trip based on the fact that they had been mentoring and working with undergraduates kind of as a reward. And they would go and they always came back charged. It was great. Lance says he uses office travel funds to take a member of the committee to a CUR meeting each year. It is a good way to grow their knowledge and possibly their commitment. We used to do that with CUR dialogues too. We would send faculty, and it didn't bear what we thought it was going to bear, so we stopped doing that.
I wanted to touch back on the setting up of the agenda for 2 seconds as an alternative model. We rotate the chair of the committee amongst the liaisons, and then so each of them get an opportunity to chair a meeting, and then they get to have their voice heard within. We usually give them, for staffing purposes, but also for efficiencies, we give them some generic, like standard agenda items, like, well, how are the subcommittees doing, that type of stuff. But then that chair gets to talk about, well, can we talk about this month, and that's how we add that in.
Yeah, the setting agenda here, I mean, I'm not chair of our committee. The committee is a faculty committee, so it has 2 faculty, as a faculty chair and a co-chair. I usually meet with them a week before our monthly meeting to help them set the agenda, because basically it's the things that I need to talk about. And then, anything that they want to add to that.
I would just add to that if you are partnering with other groups on campus, getting input from those groups of what will have a higher impact, like our faculty research and grants committee, but also our research leads. They just sort of link to the awards. I got a call this week because we are working in an award, just sort of like David is figuring out how to do it. And we were asked, can you just tell us who should be the award? Both of us who oversee undergraduate research were like, yeah, we don't think that's a very good way. And so now we are cycling back to figure out a process, but that came from the research office. Just say somebody should do it. And so I think that's a good thing. Linda did have a pointer for who I think helps choose the awards. Linda, do you want to share a little more detail?
Sure. So for our Mentor of the Year awards, I just get faculty who've been awarded in prior years to review them, as long as they're not in a department of somebody that's been nominated. We give 2 a year. That way I can kind of behind the scenes work to balance, that it's not always someone in a STEM field. 2 years ago, both of them were in humanities. So that was exciting. And I did not feel guilty at all. That, oh no, they're both humanities. So, and then they kind of rank them. I look at it. If it seems like, well, obviously these folks are going to get it, great. If there's something we need to discuss, I'll send them out an email, but it usually shakes out pretty well. And, to be honest, I do have my hand on the scale a bit. This is kind of the way I roll. Same thing with our advisory committee. I set the agenda. I give them updates. I tell them what we need feedback on. I get their endorsement, and I ask them to tell us what's going on in their units, if they have things they want to share.
Sarah, question, comment?
Sorry, I'm on my iPad at home.
Okay.
It's like impossible to don't do this. Don't Zoom on an iPad. It's a terrible idea. Anyway, hi, I'm Sarah Purcell. I'm from Louisiana State University, which is a big old R1 here in the South. And I guess one of the things that I was really interested to hear, I think, Anne, you were talking about like how you have like I'm sorry to change the topic a little bit, but or to revert back to a previous topic, about the composition of your board having alumni. I thought that was really interesting. One of the things that we do and I would like to do more of this, is we actually invite, so like the director of the McNair program to be on our board, because we want to also, in addition to having representation from all of the colleges, and getting that, diversity of disciplines, we would also want to know more so about like how to make sure that we are always thinking of our students who are in areas, underrepresented students, underserved students. So inviting folks from those areas to be on our board. And that's been really helpful over the years to have the McNair director. So I just wanted to point that out. And then one other just quick little maybe don't do as we did kind of thing as far as mentor awards. So we don't have mentor awards anymore. Unfortunately, we had like a monetary award, and it was given to us by the Tiger Athletic Foundation for years. And then one year, of course, they decided we're not giving any more money. So if you ever hear any school saying that their football team gives money to the school, it's a big fat lie. Don't believe it. They did it maybe once 20 years ago. They're never doing it again. Anyway, so we had 3 years of mentor awards. And it was great. But I will say that we, kind of like someone else was saying, we had the same issue where all of our awardees were from STEM. We did try and actually involve undergraduate research students in the selection of those awardees. So we had a very, very complicated process whereby students nominated their mentors. Those nominations were then forwarded to the deans. The deans would then send the one selection for their college to academic affairs, who would send those names to us. Then our faculty advisory board would just vet them and make sure they all look good. And then we would send them to a student committee made up of students who were invited on that committee, students who mostly I knew through various activities. And I would sit in on their meeting when they discuss them, and I would give them a rubric and instructions, and I would tell them, explain to them like why it is a chemistry professor has mentored 30 students in the last 15 years, and an English professor has only mentored maybe 7, and why that's the same or comparable. But we still did end up with all STEM. Anyway, it was a lot of work, but now we can't even do it anyway. So what we do instead, which I realize maybe isn't, I don't know if it's not as great, but now what we do is we just order a bunch of coffee mugs, and students can submit a little form with a note, and we print up the note on nice little paper, and we deliver the coffee mug with the note to their mentor, and the mug says "World's Best Mentor." So that's what we're doing here. Anyway, that's my contribution.
Thank you. I just want to come back. Tammy said that if you're at an R1, a big old R1, I think as Sarah called it, and you've got, a big graduate program, Tammy pays graduate students to review internal grants, and recommended by their grad program directors. And she says they did a great job. Had an easier time getting them returned on time. Yeah, that's always a struggle, isn't it? I literally had to chase a faculty member this summer to China to get the reviews back that I needed. He had gone to China and didn't finish his reviews. And of course, because of the email situation over there, any email I was sending him, he wasn't getting. And so finally I contacted the chair and I was like, where the heck is this guy? He said, oh, he's in China right now. Do you want me to contact him? I was like, yeah, would you? And that's the only way I was able to get those reviews back. But yeah, if you're at a school that has grad students, certainly that changes the complexion of things. I do like that mug idea. That's pretty clever.
I do give because ours is purely voluntary, I always send out about 2 weeks before the applications are going to be shared with the committee. I asked, does anybody have an issue that would prevent them from doing the full review? Or do you need to opt out for some reason? And not, in general, I don't see that, but I had one of our alum who was going to have a baby, and she's like, well, I might have a baby right when this is. I'm like, you don't have to, don't worry. And we had another faculty member who had another commitment. And so we always give them the out and try to do that ahead of time so that we can reallocate things.
Yeah, I do that as well. But as is with students, sometimes they don't tell you. But because my committee is faculty governance, I mean, this is a service line on their review. So, I mean, the understanding is that they're going to review applications. Other questions or comments? We're coming to the end of our time here.
I have a question for
Yeah,
the
sure.
committee. So we are, my name is Lakshmi Krishna. I'm at Colorado School of Mines. We are in the process of establishing an advisory committee. And one of the tasks that we've identified that faculty could help us with on this committee, in addition to improving current programs and brainstorming future programs, is the reviews, as some of you all have your faculty do. But to be honest, that makes me a little bit, I get worried because with our review process, though we have a rubric in place, but I also know students that are from underrepresented demographics, and I strive to make this balance. And I worry when I strictly stick to like a rubric, that won't get captured. So do you have any advice on when you delegate tasks like this? How do you how do you factor in like the ensuring that underrepresented students are given opportunities?
That's why we don't just rely on the rubric. We have the rubric, which is used for all the reviews. It provides our initial ratings, but then the committee comes together and meets. Anyone on the committee can add comment. If they don't want to publicly share a comment, they can share it with me, and then I share it anonymous. I share information. Is this a first year student team or is this a capstone team, right? Because you have that spectrum. You have first year students and seniors. I'm going to hope our seniors projects are more well written. That's not always the case. But we have people who have new mentors who've never done this. And so I share that type of information after the review, but before the decisions are made. So that we can look and make sure we have a diversity, all different sides of diversity added, and then people can speak for specific proposals.
Yeah, we use a rubric for everything, but the rubric also includes a couple of questions at the end, and a place for comments. And so when I'm going through and reviewing everything that's been handed back in, I'm adding up rubric scores, but I'm also looking at what they've written.
Yeah.
And that can influence, the outcome. But all of our applications are read under blind review. But I'm at a place that's like a loaf of Wonder Bread, so it's white as could be here. So it's kind of a different kind of challenge. Donna.
The only thing that we can do is identify projects as exploratory projects versus advanced projects to try to provide that breadth. If the project involves a green student, like a freshman, we will notify the faculty because we prioritize early engagement. And so we were like, please keep in mind this project includes an incoming freshman. And we have a please don't ever send for review list that we collect on the back end of maybe faculty members that don't have the undergraduate mindset of review in mind, that they're much more appropriate for review at the graduate level. And we send it out to 2 people. Those are some of the things that we do.
Well, we're at the end of our
3.
3. Yeah, I do 2, and if the scores are dramatically inconsistent, then I get a third reader. We're at the end of our 50 minutes. I want to respect everybody's time here. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for participating in our first URP exchange. Thanks to CUR, especially Todd Wagner, for his tech support. Our next exchange will be Wednesday, October 16th at noon Eastern. The topic for discussion will be policies and attitudes towards the use of AI at undergraduate research proposals. We will post the information to the CUR community soon, and I hope you will join us again then. Enjoy your day. Thanks, everybody.